Welcome to Life of Lady Di. Subscribe, like, and share. And don't forget to turn on that notification for more wonderful, encouraging content. Hey everyone, so today we are making pork ribs and a sweet yam cornbread pudding. So first I seasoned and marinated my pork ribs. You know the basics: adobo, garlic powder, onion powder, sazon. Make sure you wash your meat. Check out my video for that. Onions, parsley, and lemon juice. And make sure you mix that all and let that marinate really, really well. And so in a hot pan, you're going to add your pork ribs. Now, if you've been following this channel, you know that I do not like meat with no color. So we are going to brown our meat by searing it off first on both sides until we get a nice brown crusty color. We're not searing it and browning it until it's cooked. We just want to add some color. And so you're going to, make sure your pan is really, really hot and check it every so often to see if it's starting to get nice and brown. And the reason why we brown our meat, especially when you're making like some kind of sauce or a stew, or you're going to use it, like you're gonna cook it, you want to really get a nice crust on the bottom of that pan from the seasonings, the herbs, and the meat, so you can make your sauce later on. And so see, just like that, how it's starting to get those brown tidbits. And if your pan, if you notice that the heat is uneven, just move your bigger pieces to the middle like I just did. So yeah, just like that. As you can see, getting nice and brown. We're gonna flip them. And again, we're not cooking them completely. We are literally just browning them on just two sides really, until we can get a nice caramelization on the bottom of the pan so we can make our sauce. So how has your week been? My week has been pretty productive. I noticed that interpreting is picking up, so I'm so thankful for that. If you don't know, I am a professional interpreter. I ended up having to leave the corporate world because of a back injury that happened while I was working. And so now I pretty much just do interpreting full time because it's not strenuous on my body. I don't have to sit for long hours at a time because that is extremely painful for me. And so I can interpret, and it pays well, but it's been extremely slow. But thankfully I've been able to get with a few other companies and things are starting to pick up for you girls. So I'm so thankful for that. God is good. Help catch up on all these bills, okay? All right, so once they're brown, remove them from your pan, and then you're gonna add any other ribs that you have. As you can see on the bottom of that pan, all that brown goodness, that is not burnt, okay? There's a difference between burnt and those nice brown bits. If you notice that your pan is too hot and it's going from like a dark brown like you see here to black, then you need to remove your pan from the heat. Okay, turn your heat down. I never understood why people would leave their pan directly on the heat as their food is burning. Dude, take the pan off the heat. And then sometimes you do have to switch your pan out so that way your food doesn't take on that burnt flavor. Okay, so we're just browning our meat really well. You will also need some sliced onions for this recipe and some water. So the pan that I'm currently using, because I'm going to be throwing these ribs in the oven, it's oven safe. So make sure you're also using an oven safe pan, and then possibly something deeper than what I have here if that's more comfortable for you. So I added about 2 tablespoons of my oil of choice. I use peanut oil to my pan while the meat was in there. And I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of chopped garlic and 1 whole sliced onion that I cut in half and then just slice them in half moon shapes. And we're going to just kind of lightly toss those in the oil and kind of brown it a little bit, but not completely because it's going to continue to cook while it's in the oven. Also, you will need some delicious sofrito. You can get this at your local grocery store. In your like Spanish aisle, you should be able to find it there. We're going to use the green and the red version. I will make a video soon on how to make your own at home, and that way you can have a nice big batch. We use sofrito in all of our cookings. If you're from the islands, then you know it's either sofrito or in Creole we call it épices. Usually I make my own, but I also like to keep these on hand for when I'm out of my own sofrito. Basically épices is how we say it in Creole. So you're going to add your water to the pan, deglaze your pan, make sure you're scraping the bottom as you're mixing everything together, okay? So that way you can get all those beautiful brown tidbits that was forming at the bottom, and so you can really build your flavor for your sauce that you're going to put your ribs in. And then we're gonna let this come to a rapid boil. You can use, if you don't want to use water, you can always use your favorite stock. I just use water because I like to flavor mine by myself. So you're gonna need some saison complete. Because remember, we just added water, so this has absolutely no flavor whatsoever, okay? You're also going to need some saison, this version of it. Give it a nice color, a nice depth of flavor. You can add onion powder and garlic powder if you like. I love adding some dry parsley. You can do that. If you want to add some dry herbs, you can. The dry parsley, I love adding it because it has a very mild flavor, so it doesn't overtake what I'm cooking. And then it also gives it like some greenery to whatever I'm making, okay? If you want, you can always use fresh chopped parsley, but I prefer to just keep a big bottle of the dry parsley on hand, so that way I'm not wasting any food or herbs. So tasting it to make sure it has everything I need and that I'm comfortable with the flavor of it. You don't want your sauce to have for it to be salty or anything like that, because remember, we have our meat that we marinated as well, so that has seasoning in it. Be mindful of that. I just added a little all-purpose adobo seasoning, about about a teaspoon really, just to give it a little bit more flavor because it was tasting a little bit bland. And now I'm going to add my pork ribs back to the pan. And like I said, if you have a bigger pan, you can always use a bigger pan. The goal really is to make sure you're using an oven-safe pan. That way you can put it in the oven once the sauce gets going, and we just throw it in the oven. Because one thing I am not going to do is babysit some food while it's cooking, especially after a long day and I want to just spend time with my family. I would much rather spend time with my family and while the food is cooking, or talk to my best friend or my sister or my mom or whoever, or my brother. I'd rather do that, spend time with my man. I'd rather do that than babysitting a pot or a pan on the stove. We're not babysitting food here. That's why the oven, let it be your best friend, okay? If you don't have oven safe pots, go ahead and get you some, or get some disposable ones, because I promise you it'll make your life so much easier, and it'll make it seem like you've been cooking all day, because when you cook things in the oven, it just really, in my opinion, gives such depth of flavor, right? It's just so rich in flavor when you're cooking in the oven for some reason. All right, so we're gonna let that continue to boil, cover it for a little bit, and let it come to a rapid boil, at which point I'm going to go ahead and turn it. So at this point, it's been boiling for about 10 minutes. And so what I want to do is I'm going to turn them on the opposite side, because I am using a smaller pan. If you have a deeper pan, you actually don't have to even do this step. You can go straight from this step to the oven. Okay, so I'm just turning it to make sure the sauce is on all sides of the meat. So for tonight, if you want, as a side dish, this is great with some white rice, brown rice. If you've never had farro's absolutely delicious, or a nice whole grain, or black rice, a wild rice. You know, this is just delicious all around. I don't feel like making rice, and so I'm going to make a sweet yam cornbread pudding that I'm going to show you in a little bit. So now that I've turned everything, your oven is going to be on 350. Cover it and put it in the oven. So here is the ingredients you're going to need to make my sweet yam cornbread pudding. Okay, you're going to need about 2 boxes of the Jiffy honey corn muffin mix, pumpkin spice blend, sour cream, your 2 eggs, your can of yams. And so with the can of yams, what we're going to do is reduce it, add it to a hot pan. What you want to do is reduce it as much as possible so it can get nice and thick. I'm adding about a tablespoon of the pumpkin spice blend, and I'm going to mix that really well. I'm not adding any additional sugar to it because it already comes in a sweet syrup. So really what I just want to do is reduce this syrup down and let that flavor get really nice and rich. While that is going, you're going to go ahead and open up your packets of your Jiffy corn muffin mix, and you're going to add that to your bowl. So when I discovered the honey flavor one, I was like, what? Ain't no way. So you can make, like, if you know how to make regular cornbread, all you have to do is just use that recipe that you currently have and then just add the little extras. And so, but for a quick dinner night, I'm not trying to do all that. Jiffy mix is the way to go. Okay, it's about making life easy, not complicated. But if you have time, then by all means make your cornbread from scratch. Anyway, so what I'm doing here is just breaking up the clumps, some of the bigger ones, so it's just easier for mixing. And I just want to show you, I have my hot cast iron pan in the oven, okay, because I want it to get really hot, so it's already in the oven. As you can see here, the yams are starting to boil and that syrup is starting to thicken and it's reducing. So you want it to continue to reduce some more because it's not ready yet. Now it's at the point where it's reduced. You want it to get to this consistency, okay? So that's perfect. You're gonna get your blender and be careful because you know it's hot. Add that to your blender. Just going to also add about 3 to 4 tablespoons of sour cream. If you don't have sour cream, you can use like a nice Greek yogurt, or you can use some buttermilk. It's up to you, but I really do like the way the sour cream tastes. So about 3 to 4 tablespoons. This is a pudding, so don't think of it as your traditional cornbread, okay? You know what a pudding is. A pudding is soft and gooey and delicious, so that's what I'm making. I'm making a sweet yam cornbread pudding. So don't come for me in the comments about my cornbread pudding mixture, okay? Like I said, this is a pudding. So you're gonna get that nice and blended and incorporated into your blender, and you want to mix it until it's extremely smooth and blend it until it's extremely smooth. Because it's thick, you're gonna probably have to, stop your blender and then just mix it around real quick. So I am actually pulsating this because it's pretty thick, and then I'll let it go for like a minute or two until it's super smooth. You don't want any lumps at all whatsoever in this mixture. Once that is done blending and it's nice and smooth, you're going to go ahead and take that mixture and add it to your dry cornbread mix. Make sure you get all of it in there. Use a spatula if you need to, or a spoon, to get all that deliciousness into your bowl. And then you're going to mix that really well. So you'll notice that it's like a cake batter consistency. Usually cornbread, it's a little bit thicker, but this is going to be very, very liquidy, like a cake batter consistency, because again, this is a pudding. It's not a regular cornbread. My family absolutely loves this version when I make it, and so, try it out and let me know what you think in the comments. Anything you might add or subtract. I love to hear your thoughts. So add your 2 eggs, and you're going to add your can of sweetened condensed milk. This is key right here. And it's going to be absolutely delicious. And I forgot to mention, you're also going to add a tablespoon of vanilla to your mixture. A vanilla extract. All right, now you want to mix that up really well. I like to break up my eggs first, kind of mix that up, and then mix everything else up together. And as you can see, it's a very wet batter. And so once you're done mixing all that up and you have no lumps and it looks nice and smooth, just like that, you're going to take your hot cast iron pan out of the oven. Be very careful, remember it's hot, and use your gloves. Okay, and so before I put my cast iron in the oven, I coated it with some good old peanut oil. Sometimes I like to put butter, depending upon, or unsalted butter or salted butter, depending upon how I'm making my cornbread. But for this particular one, just some peanut oil. And I coated my pan so that way it doesn't stick. And so I'm pouring all of that batter right into my very hot cast iron pan. And then you're going to put that in the oven on 350. And so while your ribs are cooking, your sweet yam cornbread pudding will be cooking as well. This will take about 40 to 45 minutes in the oven on 350. One thing you can do while it's cooking towards the end, and you've checked it, and the center is going to be like your knife or your fork or your toothpick is not going to come out like perfectly dry, right? When you check it, it's still going to be moist because this is a pudding. So you're still going to see something on your whatever you're going to use to check to see if it's done. But when it gets to that point, what you can do, so here it is, it's all done. But sometimes what I like to do is melt some butter, pour it over the top, and sprinkle some brown sugar with cinnamon or white sugar with cinnamon, and then put that in the oven to continue to bake to create a nice crusty glaze on top of it. So here's our beautiful, it started to cool down, so don't freak out if you see it sink a little bit, that's okay. So we're just slicing that up, and here are our ribs, all done in the oven. Everything is done and ready to plate. That sauce looks nice and rich. The ribs are so tender. It smells delicious. Absolutely amazing. Super easy, quick recipe that you can make for your family, for your loved ones, for yourself. Okay. And again, cooking is not complicated. Don't make it complicated. It's easy. It's fun. And then you save money when you cook. So if you're on a budget, definitely try out some of these recipes or all of the recipes. If you have a recipe that you would like me to try out, or If you have ingredients that you're like, you know what, I love these type of ingredients, but I never know what to do with them. Hey, Diane, can you make a video on, using these ingredients? I will be more than happy to put something together for you and put a recipe together to help you figure out what to do with some of your favorite ingredients. So I just want to give you guys a close-up of these pork ribs. Look at how beautiful these are. And I tell you, they smell so good. They're so tender. Look at that beautiful sauce, that beautiful color on it. It's just extremely appetizing. And then, of course, our sweet yam cornbread pudding. You're going to love this. If you haven't yet, like, subscribe, and share. And thanks for watching. Until we meet again soon. Have a great day. Be blessed. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. See you again soon.